the Philadelphia 76ers. Ben Simmons, 2021 biggest absolute playoff travesty, the absolute biggest playoff travesty, one of the worst we ever seen, absolutely pathetic, despicable, shameful, unforgivable, a joke, disgusting, humiliating, straight up one of the worst performances ever by a so-called NBA star, the former #1 pick who was once compared to the likes of Magic Johnson and LeBron James. Ben Simmons in the Hawks series, the definition of tragic Bronson, the most tragic meltdown for any point guard we have ever seen. I made a recent video about the Utah Jazz playoff disappointments, but the 2021 Philadelphia 76ers have officially surpassed the Jazz in the biggest playoff meltdown this season. The Jazz blew a 25-point lead, but Philly won up that, only blowing a 26-point lead. Game 5 melting down, collapsing, disappearing, breaking, and feeling frozen. The final period, looking back February 28, the Hawks were 14-20 before they fired Lloyd Pierce out of the playoff picture, then hired Nate McMillan, 135-15. The Sixers looked like NBA title contenders most of the season, maintained the #1 seed in the East, only to get obliterated after big leads, with Embiid being an MVP candidate level player all season, played with a half-torn meniscus, had some bad moments. Joel doesn't deserve to get a lot of the blame since he did what he was supposed to do, still averaged 30 points for the series. Sixers going 49-23 overall, the best win percentage since the 01 franchise led by the great Allen Iverson. The fact that the Sixers blew Game 5 with the answer and the legendary Julius Erving in the building showed what we needed to know about this team. Embiid did things and put up numbers the franchise hasn't seen since AI, but unlike the beloved and tough Iverson himself, who left every ounce of his heart on the hardwood and gave everything, Ben Simmons gave up on everything. The $30 million overrated point guard, and yes, he is overrated, who can't run a simple pick and roll play because he's scared to shoot, having to rely on Joel on one leg to make every shot. A big reason why Embiid had those high turnovers, 16 total the last 2 games. Philly asked the 7-footer to do too much because of the liability Simmons. It wouldn't have happened if it was better coaching, if Ty Lue was there instead of Doc Rivers. If Philly had a Chris Paul type point guard running plays, none of this collapse would have happened. 5 points in Game 7 for Simmons at 6'10", a 6'10" point guard, 4 shot attempts in 36 minutes, didn't even attempt a single shot the last 18 minutes of the game. The hack of Ben made him shoot 4 of 14 from the line Game 5, blowing that game. Double-digit missed free throws in the game by a point guard. Scored single digits 4 of the 7 games versus Atlanta. Absolutely deserves to get roasted to the highest levels. The literal definition of being scared, almost 25 years old. Finished his 4th full season in the league. He was supposed to be a top 10 or at least a top 15 player by now, but not even top 40. Yeah, I said it. If somebody's this scared to shoot in the playoffs, a huge liability because of the brick missed free throws, having to sit out in crunch time, Doc Rivers didn't have the guts to bench him earlier. Scared to shoot, given all the opportunities to improve, having played 275 total regular season games, many of them meaningless in the bigger picture. His biggest liability, having a jump shot. Literally no jump shot, non-existent, zero. All those social media videos in the summer of Ben pulling up from 3 in pickup games, irrelevant if it can't translate to the NBA, especially in today's league when the game has changed and everybody needing some sort of range. Even if guys are not good shooters, at least have the decency to freaking shoot a wide open shot. Passing up wide open shots, simply not good basketball. In 4 full seasons, Simmons attempted 34 3-pointers, made just 5 of them. When he finally hit one, everybody needed to hype him up like, oh my god, watch out for the entire league. All that hype didn't mean shit. The regular season, many games played, especially a lot against weaker teams, a chance to work on your weaknesses or at least try to get better. But Simmons didn't even try to improve his jump shot. Absolutely pathetic at this point. Many big men 7 years ago came into the league having no 3-point shooting, but adapted and adjusted, put in the work at the gym, became respectable shooting the ball. DeMarcus and Brook Lopez's of the world, for example. Simmons owed a whooping $146 million over the next 4 seasons at the starting point guard, 6'10", elite passing, great athlete, tremendous on D, super strong and built physically, but none of that matters much when his shooting is literally zero. The Simmons roasting 100% deserved. All the guys who's played bad in the 2020 postseason in the bubble, Paul George, Kemba Walker amongst others, at least those guys attempted shots and tried shooting the ball, but Simmons literally really scared underneath the basket in a critical down the stretch moment, one of the worst moments in Sixers franchise history. Instead of going up for a wide open dunk with 6'1" Trae Young, 170 pounds maybe, the closest guy there, Simmons being that scared to get fouled and giving it up in traffic, causing his team a point. Imagine somebody 9 inches shorter than you underneath the basket. You're either laying that up or flushing every single time. I'd be absolutely shocked if Ben Simmons remains in the Sixer uniform for next season. Daryl Morey, the king of analytics, loves his shooters, has no tolerance for guys who can't shoot, but the question is, who the heck wants Ben Simmons at this point and willing to give up quality guys in return? The fact that the Harden Sixers trade never went through, Houston fans ecstatic not to end up with the no jump shot Simmons. There has never been another recent NBA All-Star with as bad a body language than the 3-time All-Star Simmons on offense. Instead of being so furious thinking, oh, he should have gotten Defensive Player of the Year award, he couldn't even be out there on the floor in crunch time, being the team's second best player, causing his team for it as a result. Enough said. Ben Simmons of 2021, a way bigger absolute travesty than any of the 2020 Clippers, a bigger absolute travesty than Rudy Gobert. At least those Clippers kept playing and shooting, they were just missing shots. Ben Simmons literally went missing and hiding on the floor, wanted no part of that offense, going 0 of 0 in the fourth quarter. The last 4 games in a playoff series, absolute lunacy, literally missed 100% of the shots he didn't take, and the game plan against him super obvious. From All-Star just months ago to Roy Hibbert 2.0 in a span of 3 months, the biggest frustration of all frustrations, Simmons reluctant to improve offensively as a player with superstar potential, 6'10", insane vision, good ball handling. If this was 2016, everybody thought he'd be at least a top 3 point guard by now, given the physicality, questionable work ethic or lack thereof. Year 1, average 16, 8 and 8, Rookie of the Year, robbing Donovan Mitchell. The fact that many people had the audacity to say Simmons was better than Mitchell at one point, they were flat out wrong. That debate's officially over. Even if Simmons' team wins 50 plus in the regular season, don't mean jack shit if he can't deliver and produce in the playoffs. Looking back 3 years ago, Simmons looked his best in the first round series 2018 against Miami, averaged 18, 10 and 9 with Joel limited to 3 games, took the second most shots and a decent 25 of 35 from the free throw line. Not good, but not too bad. Great compliments with JJ Redick, Marco Bellinelli, and Dario Saric, but got absolutely exposed in the Boston series. A liability, Brett Brown lost the game when he subbed out TJ McConnell and brought Ben in during Game 2, who went 0 of 4 from the field, 5 turnovers, 1 point. That game should have been the wake-up call for Simmons. Defensively, he's improved, but offensively, digressed it, doesn't even look at the rim at times. Very passive, not aggressive. The only person to ever make Simmons look like a playoff superstar, Jared Dudley. Remember that 31 point, 11 of 13 shooting, 9 of 11 from the free throw line in Game 3 vs Brooklyn 2019? Where the hell has that Ben Simmons been? Didn't play too well against Toronto 2 years ago. Philly had Redick, Harris, Butler, and Embiid. Simmons Game 7 won just 4 of 5 shooting, 13 points, 5 shots not enough, also got cooked by Kawhi. The fact that he doesn't seem to want it this badly, just chills and refuses to get better, doesn't improve on those flaws. We can all respect someone like a Rajon Rondo or a young Jason Kidd. Despite being bad outside shooters, they weren't afraid to take threes when necessary. Simmons under 60% from the line for his career, going 34% on free throws in the playoffs, at least 70 attempts, the worst mark in postseason history, even worse than Ben Wallace or Shaq. An absolute triple travesty. $177 million guaranteed, while others who got roasted for their lack of free throw shooting, DeMarkel Fultz and Lonzo Balls, worked their butts off to improve. Simmons went from a 60% career free throw shooter to 32. I take Steph Curry shooting from half court over Simmons shooting from the free throw line. It's up to Simmons whether he wants to be great or not to reach his full potential. Enough complaining about not winning awards. Credit to the Hawks for an amazing season. Looking back, it's also an absolute travesty. Ben Simmons made the All-Star team over Trae Young. It's not even close who's better now. One is confident and excels in the big moments despite missing almost every shot in Game 7. Trae Young simply has that winning attitude, while one folds and runs away from the bright lights, didn't want to put up a fight. Playoff Reggie Jackson, 10 times better than playoff Ben Simmons. I'd like to apologize to Reggie Jackson for last season's slander. He got my respect and kudos for working on his game. While the Sixers losing games 1, 5, and 7 at home, it appeared the number 1 seed in the East, whether it was Philly, Brooklyn, or Milwaukee, would get an easy trip to the conference finals, but the Sixers absolutely shit the bed. 90% of the blame goes to Simmons and his pathetic lack of shooting. Of course, Doc Rivers, the king of 3-1 shivers, blew a 2-1 lead this time, missed a lack of adjustments, continues to melt every postseason. It's getting sad at this point. How many below leads will continue to happen? Being 6-9 overall in Game 7s, Brett Brown was not the problem. Over the last 9 months, Rivers blew a 16-point lead Game 5 versus the Nuggets, a 19-point lead Game 6, then a 12-point lead Game 7, only to end up losing 6 and 7 by double digits. Now Paul George playing great with the Clippers. The franchise finally advanced to their first ever conference finals without Doc. Lou Williams on the weaker Hawks team made his first ever conference finals, eliminating Doc's more talented Sixers team. The script literally written for a collapse before it actually seems to happen. How many times are we going to see this Doc Rivers movie? From blowing an 18-point lead in Game 4 with one of Atlanta's best defensive players, DeAndre Hunter, out for the year before the series and still blew it. Philly could have easily lost Game 6 but dropped Game 7 with Trae Young shooting 5 of 23. 29 losses now for Doc with a chance to clinch a series, most all time since departing the Celtics. Rivers failed to make the conference finals while coaching prime CP3, prime Blake Griffin, prime DeAndre Jordan, prime Kawhi Leonard, prime PG, prime Embiid. The 9th time he blew a playoff series lead. Is the bad luck just set in stone for Doc? Up 3-1 versus Detroit, the first season the NBA made the first round series a best of 7 instead of 5. Of course, the first to blow that. How ironic. 2010 Boston, despite a tough defensive series, a Doc-led team scored 67 and 79 points in Game 6 and 7. Credit Kobe's Lakers defense, but the team with a big 3 of KG, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen couldn't buy a shot those 2 games. From getting torched by LeBron stare down in 2012 to getting destroyed, abused, annihilated, humiliated by Josh Smith and Corey Brewer in 2015, to falling to Gordon Hayward and Gobert in 2017, to Jokic and Murray in 2020, and now 22-year-old Trae Young. I'd be shocked at this point if Daryl Morey keeps Rivers. Anytime Doc Rivers coaches, it's safe to bet against him in the semis. The fact that Seth Curry and Embiid, the only 2 reliable options on offense, Curry making under $8 million for the year, one of the best bargains, needed to average 22 for the series to make things close. Imagine the team still had Josh Richardson instead of Curry. My goodness, they wouldn't be able to score. Tobias averaged 19 a game, pretty bad at Game 7, 8 of 24 shooting, missed a lot of point-blank layups, very overpaid, but at this point, he is who he is. The 76ers so-called trust the process experiment with Simmons and Embiid is over. The process has failed. The two simply don't have good chemistry together. Not good enough to win it all with Simmons' lack of shooting. Joel's more dominant down low, and Simmons can't make an outside shot for dear life. Ben's trade value heavily diminished. Philly simply needs a true good point guard who can shoot next to Embiid. Even 35-year-old Kyle Lowry with Embiid, then having Simmons with Embiid. From the 2016 draft class, I'm taking Jaylen Brown, Jamal Murray, Brandon Ingram, Karis LeVert, Buddy Hield, Malcolm Brogdon, Domantas Sabonis, and Pascal Siakam over Ben Simmons in a playoff game. Unless he can somewhat shoot the ball, not be a liability in crunch time, and try to be aggressive, at least just try to be aggressive and go up strong. The most overrated player in the NBA gave us a simple answer these playoffs. 3 shot attempts the whole 4th quarter for the series. The next Ben Simmons debate, whether he has the worst contract in the entire NBA. Even Chris Chiozza of the Nets attempted more shots in the 4th quarter in the semis than Ben freaking Simmons. An utter disaster, unforgivable performance, major changes, busy offseason for the city of brotherly love, losing to a team that was only supposed to make round 2 and maybe perhaps win a game. Kudos to Trae Young and his confidence. Ben Simmons can learn a thing or two about it. An epic meltdown of a performance for the ages. The playoff nickname for Ben Simmons, how about his initials? Playoff BS. His lack of aggression, lack of shooting abilities, and free throw shooting was absolute total playoff BS. Once again, an absolute travesty.